Hey guys, it's me, Rachel. I was thinking this Saturday evening um about something that I really wanted to share with you. Um, I'll still be on Facebook tomorrow morning with a totally different message. Not this one. I don't know if this one is going to be a message or just a word, but the Lord has been really impressing this message on me, and also tomorrow's message. So I'm going to do one tonight and one tomorrow. Um, this this word or sermon is called Soft Answers. I went through a circumstance about a month ago where um, me and two other people were involved. Um, it wasn't a very serious thing. It was just a communication thing, and um, I talked to one person about it. They had one response. They had a very defensive response, and I talked to the other person involved in that situation, and they had a very um, kind of um, response, like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and very cordial and very uh, not laid back, but very non-threatening response. And it was, and this thing, these two people were in with me the same situation, but their responses were totally different. And um, the 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 reaction that I got out of both responses really made me feel that soft answers really made a difference. And when I say soft answers, I don't mean wishy-washy, whatever answers. I mean firm answers, but um, firm, firm, concise answers, and very, like, you know what you're talking about. It's really firm, and you know exactly what you're saying, and you're not moving on it. Assertive responses, um, rather than just whatever, and you don't care. Or you could go. Um, some people go with the very negative, aggressive response. They they're like, "What do you mean this and that? Blah blah blah." And that response usually gets anger or tears, depending on the person, and it doesn't get you anywhere. I think in this sermon, the Lord wants me to talk about the difference between talking and communicating. Now, I went over this years ago when I did a sermon called "Let's Stop Talking and Start Communicating." Um, talking for me, for communi- talking for me is just um, speaking words. That's all talking is. Talking is speaking words. Communication is relaying a message that is understood by the other person. It's relaying a message that is understood by another person, understood and applied and could be applied by another person. So you're not just talking, you're making sure that the person understands you. See, I think many friendships, many relationships, many situations break down because of a lack of communication. They have a lot of talking, like a lot of saying words, but they don't have a lot of communication where the message is understood and received by another person. So talking is just speaking words. Communication is where a message is relayed and understood by another person so that actions could be taken. It's like a lot of people talk, but they don't communicate. They don't say things in a way that the person can understand and then take action, or together you take action. And communication happens in several different ways. There is written communication. There's the most common verbal communication. There is written communication, and then there is body language communication. So you could say something and communicate something different. So you could talk something, but communicate something different by your body language. So you could say to your wife when she asked you where you were last night, you could say, I was with my friend Tommy, but your body language says your eyes are looking down and you're not really sure. I was with Tommy, but you were at Sarah's house last night. So you're talking, what's coming on your mouth is, I was with my friend Tommy. But what is being communicated to her is, I was with another woman. So, and I think that's where the breakdown comes in. And I really think we need to start communicating. We need to start relaying messages that are received and understood by another party. Okay, so communication has three parts. People need to receive the message, understand the message, and then they can relay that is being relayed to them. And then once they receive and understand, they can put that message into action. So if I say to someone, let's say if something was on the floor and I wanted them to pick it up, I could say, pick it up right now. That would get one reaction. Whereas if I said, I would really appreciate it if you could pick that up for me off the floor, would get another reaction. And sometimes communication breakdown, most times communication breakdown is responsible for breakdown in friendships, breakdown in relationships, breakdown in marriages, breakdown in everything. We need to get this communication thing right. And there's also fear of communication too. We don't often talk about, we talk about how important it is to communicate, but we don't often talk about the fear that goes along with communication. Because communication is so important, especially if the message that has to be relayed is hard, people have a fear of communication. Like they're afraid to say what they really feel, what they really think, or how they really are responding to a certain situation, because they're afraid of how the person will act. And to overcome this problem is so hard. That is one of my issues, and I'm learning to just, take my time. And there's no harm in taking my time and really, with the help of the Lord or the help of friends, really figuring out how to tell this person something, how to tell this person what you need to tell them. And sometimes we're too swift to say stuff that is none of our business. And then we just ruin a relationship. First of all, in communication, make sure that it is your business to communicate that to a person. In the in the area in the era of social media now, we just say anything about anyone, and most times it is none of our business to say whatever about that celebrity's dress or weight or whatever. It is none of our business to say. And then we just fly off the handle thinking that we have the right. We don't. Unless a situation directly affects us and our name is involved and our reputation is involved, we don't have to say anything. We don't have to say anything. And sometimes we hurt people we don't even know because we feel that we're behind the keyboard and we don't, those people are not people, so we'll just say whatever because they put it up there, so we'll just comment on it. We don't have the right to comment on it. Maybe they put it up there because they're insecure or they have a hunger for validation from others. That is no excuse for us to just type whatever we want. But what I will say about communication, it is the hardest thing. And communication with friends and with family and with whoever, co-workers, it takes work and it takes time. And sometimes, usually in communication, there is a part of communication a, no, a form of communication that is better for one person, and then that is better for a person than another. Me, I'm a writer, so I'm better with written communication than verbal communication. So I would better write a person a letter if something is hard to say. Not because I'm hiding behind a screen, but I just find it easier to write words and it flows better if I can communicate in words rather than speaking. Some people prefer speaking. They words come easier to them in speaking and whatever. Some people in communication prefer music, and a song says something they want to say, or sometimes they write songs easier than than um than speaking or writing in a text or an email. I'm beginning to understand that the form of communication uh, does not matter as much as whether your message is being received and understood or not. The problem I find with um, written communication is sometimes um, your message is not received or understood because it's written and they can't hear your tone or your voice. And sometimes with verbal communication, sometimes it's when you're trying to communicate a thing to someone, it's hard to find the words to to state accurately your your message. So sometimes it gets screwed up. So I would say, first of all, if you can, know your preferred form of communication. Know if you are a verbal person, a texting person, an artistic person, like you like to communicate through your art, or you like to communicate through music, or you like to communicate some other way. Because not all the time this can work. But when your family and friends know your preferred uh, form of communication, when they need to talk to you about something, uh, maybe they can use that form of communication to talk to you. Like, and maybe if you know their form of communication, you can use their form of communication to talk to them. Because we all are so different as human beings, and I just think that things get lost in communication. I think we do a lot of talking, a lot of words coming out of our mouths, but we don't do a lot of communicating where a message is under relayed, understood, and received. Those are the three things of communication. It's relayed, understood, and received. So I can relay a message, but but the person I'm relaying the message to is not understanding or receiving it the way I want it to be received, or the person's I can relay a message that is understood but not received. So the difference between understanding and receiving it is understanding it is you get it cognitively. You understand what they're saying cognitively, but you don't take it in. So you understand that your wife wants you to take out the garbage. She said, "Honey, could you take out the garbage?" You understand that she wants you to take out the garbage, but you didn't receive it, that she wants you to take out the garbage. So the garbage stays there for days because she relayed it, you understood it, but you didn't receive it. And in order to apply it, because information that is relayed and not received cannot be applied. So I will say that again. Information that is relayed but not received cannot be applied. You need to receive information in order to apply it, because you can relate. You can relay information to someone can relay information to you, but you don't receive it, you don't take it in order in order enough to apply it. And so that is why I feel that we don't get sermons, although we can watch them over and over again on YouTube or whatever. We can stream the live service on Sunday. We get the pastor or preacher is relaying a message, and we receive it, but we don't apply it. And sometimes people say, well, watch it again and watch it again until it gets down into you. But you could watch a sermon many, many, many times and still not apply it, because a message that is relayed but not received cannot be applied. So if a pastor is relaying a message but I don't receive it, I can't apply it. I can't apply it. So, or if a pastor is relaying a message, communicating something, sometimes I don't receive it, and if I don't receive it, I can't apply it. And sometimes I do receive it, but I still don't apply it to my life. And sometimes I'm talking to preachers here. Sometimes with preaching, I find we only tackle the auditory learners, and sometimes we have a little visual thing. And when we have a little visual thing, sometimes it is the most powerful sermon. I saw this sermon a few weeks ago where the pastor had such a great visual thing going on that it resonated with so many people. And quite often, I don't think it's not that people don't want to uh, take in the sermon or apply it, or if they listen to it and listen to it, uh, they still don't apply it. I sometimes think that as preachers, we're not tackling communication on the levels that people have their preferred communication, because every person has their preferred communication. Uh, some people learn by doing. Some people learn by taking notes. Some people learn by listening. Some people communicate by a lot of different kinds of communication. So that's why I always said, what I can't do it now because it's just me, but that's why I always said, if the Lord allows me to do live conferences eventually, and eventually um, uh, start a branch of his church, what I want to do is tackle the sermon in 3 different parts, communicated in 3 different ways: visually, auditorially, and tactilely, to get people moving around, to get them active, because that's another way of communicating too. Um, and I think half the time, the reason why our communication is lost with people is we don't know their preferred method of communication. Um, like like Richard Smalley said um, a few years ago, there are 5 love languages. So I think there are many communication languages. There are at least, I think, about 3 communication languages that I can think of. There's auditory, which is you learn by listening. There's written, which you learn by writing down. And there's visually, which you learn by seeing. So with with a sermon, I think it is important for pastors to, if they can, incorporate many styles of communication in a sermon, so that you're having something for the visual learners, you're having something for the auditory learners, you're even having something for the tactile learners, because there are several different people in your church. And if you're not communicating on a level where they understand, where they can um, uh, uh, res- eh, where you relay a message, they can receive it and then apply it, it's not being communicated. It's not that they're lazy and that they don't like the word of God, or they're just lazy Christians. It's just that it's not being communicated in a way where they can it's being relayed but not understood, and if it's not understood, it can't be applied. And if you're a tactile learner, oh, God help you in church, because there's nothing for you there. And yes, so because if you're not an auditory learner or a written learner and you're a visual learner, no matter how many times you watch the sermon, you won't be you probably won't be able to take in as much, because it's not that you don't love God or you don't want the word. It's just that it's not being communicated to you in a way that you can take it in and apply it. And that's the same for friendships and relationships. If things are not being communicated, understood, and applied, you're going to have problems. So I would say, just to ask the person, how do you prefer to take in information? Do you like written communication? Do you like verbal communication? Do you do you like something more artistic? Do you Are you a math and sciences person? You know what I mean? To to tailor as much as you can their specific communication. Um, their specific communication style. Um, because we all have different communication styles, and most times people want to learn, people want to grow, people want to change, or people want to uh, understand each other and make changes, but if they don't understand what you're saying, they're not going to be able to do their best to make changes. So it's very important to communicate so that so that um, to relate. It's very important in communication to relay messages so that they can be understood and applied. And I find a trick for me when I'm trying to communicate with someone would be to repeat back what they said to me so that I can say, "Did you say this?" Or they can say, "No, I didn't say that. I meant this." So that we can be both clear on what we both mean and what we will say. Because sometimes there could be several different meanings, and tone is also important in communication too, because a gruff tone will bring in one response, whereas a soft, congenial tone will bring another response. So guys, this is just something to keep in mind. Have a great evening. Bye. Join me tomorrow on Facebook. See you later. Bye. I'm gonna talk about wild women tomorrow. So join me for that. It's gonna be good. So if you have any female friends and you're watching this, please tell them to tune in on my Facebook page tomorrow. Thanks. Bye. Remember, communication is relayed, applied, no, relayed, received, and applied. Relayed, received, and applied. Received means understood. Like you have to not just speak a message, but you have to make sure the other person understands the message. So it's relayed, received, and applied. That's communication. Talking is just saying words. And usually when somebody says, can we talk, they really mean can we communicate together. Communicate is commune, which means together. When you're talking about somebody communing with someone, you're talking about someone uh, coming together, talking together, relaying together. Not relaying, and talking and communing together. So, guys, join me tomorrow for Wild Women by on Facebook.